The emergence of Governor Godwin Obaseki as a candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the September 19 governorship election in Edo State may not have had the sort of unifying or rebound effect that may be expected from such development. Reports continue to emerge on a daily basis about rancor and lack of discipline within the ranks of the party, leading to mass defections of hundreds of party loyalists to the opposition party. But how true are these reports? And if they prove to be correct, how will they likely impact on the chances of the party holding on to power after the election? We'll now be speaking with KASSIM AFEGBUA, Publicity Secretary, People's Democratic Party, Presidential Campaign Council for the election, and former Commissioner of Information in Edo State. A couple of days ago, there was a report that KASSIM AFEGBUA's local chapter of the party had suspended him for anti-party activities. That will be our stepping-off point as we try to track the PDP's progress towards the forthcoming gubernatorial polls in Edo State. Good morning, KASSIM AFEGBUA, and thank you for joining us on the morning show. We were expecting you yesterday, but something else happened. But it's good that you are able to make it this morning. Now, a few days ago, you were declared...
it's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. A few days ago, you were suspended from your party, the PDP in Edo State, and you were accused of anti-party activities. And the chairman of your, constituency in Opela East was asked to take consequential steps to make sure that you remain suspended from the next 1 month. And the main allegation is that you are opposed to the candidacy of the gubernatorial candidate of the party, that is Godwin Obaseki. Now, you've been consistent in saying you do not think that Governor Godwin Obaseki should run on the ticket of the PDP. But unlike others, you have remained within the party, whereas others who object to it have since defected to the APC. If you like the candidate of the APC so much, why have you not defected to the APC?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Abati. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
Thank you.
It is not about whether I should defer to APC. It's about the fact that when issues about the state come to the front burner, I will look at individuals that can engage them. In this case, we have 2 candidates, one for the APC, one the PDP, which is my own party. And I have tested the PDP candidate for 4 years, and I've seen that he has not been able to meet with the wishes and aspirations of my people back home in Okwela. So to that extent, I want to, just like typical of every customer buying a product, I want to taste another product. So I have found my dissonance with respect to Governor Obaseki, because in 4 years, he promised my people road construction, he promised my people other infrastructure, he hasn't done one. And so for that reason, I decided to pitch my tent with the APC candidate. And when it comes to issues of the state, it's not even about party, it's about conscience, it's about voting. Rather than for me to remain a mole and hide my grievances within the PDP, it's better for me to speak out. And there are quite a number of people who are in the PDP who are not speaking out, but who I know will do the wishes of the APC when it comes to elections. So I think for me, I'm being driven by my own conscience and not about party affiliation. Talking about the suspension, well, I have not been served any letter of suspension as we speak. Of course, I saw a particular letter unsigned, unauthored in the social media. I also issued a statement, condemning the purported suspension, because if you are suspending somebody on the pages of newspaper or on the pages of social media, it means that you are not doing the proper thing. You have to serve me a suspension letter and request that I maybe defend allegations being leveled against me. If you say I'm doing anti-party, it's possible that the party is also doing anti-member, because they are not fulfilling my wish and aspiration as captured in the aspiration of Godwin Obaseki as the candidate of the party for the 2019 elections, 2020 elections.
But you haven't responded to the, I think, critical question Dr. Abati asked you. Why haven't you defected to the APC? If you cite all these grounds, one would expect that you should, wholeheartedly be in the APC. And secondly, you say it is anti-member activity as well. That's the first time I'm hearing that. But would you not say that your party is justified to suspend you on the grounds that you openly declare for the opposition?
Well, thank you very much. Talking about issue of openly declaring for opposition, I think what is critical here is about the state, it's about governance, it's about leadership. The processes that led to the emergence of Obaseki are processes that I do not subscribe to. The processes of hijack, of ambush, processes, a man who didn't participate in all processes leading to the primaries of the election, who just came because he's a governor and he has some few dollars to throw around, and before you say Jack Robinson, he emerged as a candidate without proper consultation with members. I cannot surrender my privileges, wishes, and aspirations in such a manner. It is not just about outcome. Processes leading to outcome have to be interrogated. And so for that reason, I felt that Obaseki cannot represent my wishes and aspirations captured in the PDP Guba election. That's just an item on, on the table, on the menu of all the political engagements in the state. So a man who just joined the party cannot just be given all the rights and privileges of members who have heard that party and for which he found the party to be attractive in the first place to come to join. If he were to prove his popularity, he would have joined APGA and join any other party. Why come to PDP? If you are coming to PDP, then as members who have held the party strong and viable, we deserve to interrogate the process. So I'm not going to defect. I'm a member of the PDP, whether they say they suspended me for 1 month or not. I'm going to remain in PDP. If they give me an indefinite suspension, I will seek my redress in the law court.
Okay. You talked about Obaseki coming to sort of like bulldoze his way in, but the same People's Democratic Party gave him a waiver, welcomed him openly, and they got deals done. I don't know what they got done. And as a result of that, it was a unanimous, decision by the party to give him those waivers, allow him go through a process, and he emerged from a process. He did take part in the primaries. So, number one, that means you are negating the processes and the principles and the protocols of the PDP. Secondly, if you say you do not support the PDP candidates, why still remain in the PDP? Is it not a case of your moral center now? Because it's just like saying you don't believe in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and you still remain in that country. And you go everywhere to say everything against Nigeria and you remain in there. It's just an illustration anyway. It doesn't mean you don't believe in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But what is your moral center telling you now as an individual?
Well, you have to, when you say he was given a waiver, and he grabbed the waiver and he enjoyed it, when they gave someone else in APC a waiver, why did he quarrel about that? That, to me, is double standard.
But he left the party.
Number two, you don't take...
He left
you don't take... Let me respond to you. Okay. Let me respond to you. The reason why he left APC are very clear for all to see. After all, we knew his contestation with Ize-Yamu and all of that. And, number two, as a political party, it's just a vehicle, for you to participate in any elective position. And for me, I'm driven by my conscience. I'm not an itinerant politician that will that will stomach a lot of injustices and abuses of process and do otherwise. I would rather speak out so that I can free my conscience. That's number two. Number three, Governor Obaseki coming into the party, being granted waiver without consultation with the relevant stakeholders of the party. For me, that beats the imagination of everyone, because you cannot go to Abuja and get endorsement and you come to Edo and you impose yourself. If you saw what happened in Ondo State, the deputy governor went to PDP and he was allowed to run through the primaries, contesting with other aspirants, and in the process, Jegede SAN emerged. That should be the process. But when you now twist people and in the process you say you emerge unopposed, everybody stepping down for you, it beats the very ingredients of democracy because your consensus is not all embracing. In democracy, there has to be collective bargaining, there has to be constructive engagement before you arrive at decisions. And when you talk about members, I don't want this tradition of parties thinking that they can breathe down the throat of members and tell them to go to hell. It is the party decision. Who is the party in the first place? So, for me, I've decided to take a decision based on this. Secondly, to your other question of moral issue, I don't see anything about morality here, because much of politics all over the world, if you want to preach morality, you go and build a church or a mosque and become a pastor or an imam and be preaching Armageddon. All I know about politics is the fact that when you are confronted with candidates, people choose because there are options. Colin Powell supported Obama. He's a Republican. He supported Obama. A lot of Republicans are supporting Joe Biden as we speak because they feel that Donald Trump is not representing the aspirations of the party as captured in the larger American interest. So, for me, I've said it categorically, rather than pretend to say all is well, I would rather speak out so that people will know exactly where I belong. And on September 19, my vote cannot be suspended. My vote cannot be expelled. It's right here, my thumb, any of the fingers, I will thumbprint. And I will tell my followers and my supporters to do likewise for the candidate of the APC.
Well, Kassim, let's go beyond some of these details and talk about the situation in Edo State with regard to the people. The Independent National Electoral Commission is holding a meeting today, a special meeting on Edo State. And the concern of INEC is what they call the threat of violence coming from Edo State, the drums of war, as they also termed it. So for INEC to be concerned about the threat of violence in the September 19 elections in Edo State, it must mean that INEC has seen something. And INEC is proposing to hold meetings also with the various campaign councils of the political parties involved in that election. But you are a major stakeholder in Edo State. How loud are those drums of war? And where are the people of Edo State in all of this?
Well, one of the reasons why I'm also not supporting the candidate of the PDP is the fact that he appears too combative and quarrelsome. A governor should be a rallying point for all the centripetal and centrifugal forces in a state, and also be able to galvanize them to ensure that he is able to deliver on his campaign promises. But if we look at what the scenario that is playing out in Edo State, Governor Obaseki has been the one that is pro-violence. And how do I mean? Only 3 days ago, he granted an interview shown on several TV stations where he was addressing some student leaders, saying that only himself and the deputy governor, Philip Shoaibu, enjoy immunity. And that anybody who misbehaves anyhow is ready to deal with the people and all of that, that the only two of them enjoys immunity. It is like giving a lot of power and support to those who are prone to violence. The incident that happened within the premises of Oredo local government headquarters, very close to the palace, a week ago, comes to mind because Edo people saw what transpired, but they were trying to twist the story. So for me, I think the responsibility is more on the governor, who is saying that his chances of being re-elected are very slim, and to that extent, we want to railroad everyone using violent means or sponsoring thugs and all of that to ensure that he's able to make a headway. So he has to come up more strongly with statements that will help to unify rather than to divide us.
Sorry to interrupt you at this point. We need to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll come back to you, and you can conclude your thoughts on that question. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us in our Arise News Abuja studio is KASSIM AFEGBUA, Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council and former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Nigeria. And he's been commenting on the politics of Edo State as the state prepares for a gubernatorial election on September 19. Well, KASSIM AFEGBUA, you were making some comments about the threat of violence. If you may just conclude that, and then Adesua will ask you the next question.
Yeah, what I was saying is that a greater responsibility of a peaceful conduct of election in Edo come 2019 is vested in the governor of the state, who is the chief security officer, whose utterances has to be temperamental in a way that will assuage or douse the tension in the state. But if you see or hear a governor saying that he enjoys immunity, his deputy enjoys immunity, is like an invitation to kill some violence, and that is what we condemn. Though people are not violent people, we want a peaceful elections, one man, one vote. Let them file out on that day, exercise their franchise, and the most popular candidate with the highest votes will come out victorious. The governor should not be looking at somebody who is very combative and trying to quarrel with the entire process. He should be seen as delivering his message in a way that is sober, in a way that is reassuring, and in a way that the people will believe that, yes, he's actually prepared for a peaceful conduct of election.
It is safe to say that the election, the build-up to the election so far has been about personality clashes and the ego of a few men. When does it become the elections about the issues on ground, the yearnings of the people? And secondly, I want to ask you, the sentiment you share about the PDP's candidates, which is your party, but you support the APC candidate, the sentiment you share in that regard, is it also shared by the Okwila people where you come from? And what are the chances of Pastor Ize-Yamu, considering that this is a rematch of the 2016 election where Governor Obaseki emerged victorious?
For a very fantastic question. Let me respond to your first question, which has to do with the issue of campaign of personality and what have you. If you look at the trend, it has been that the PDP and its apparatchik are the ones, using the statements credited to Comrade Adams Oshomole, former governor of the state, to playing them up, to demarket the APC candidate. Because when in 2016 we were contesting, I was on the side of Oshomole then. The PDP candidate, as it were, Ize-Yamu, was very strong, very formidable, and so Oshomole needed to demarket him to sell his unpopular product. I never supported Obaseki in 2016, so my not even supporting him now is not new. Anybody who was in government then knew my position. I came out openly. I was supporting a different aspirant, and when he emerged as a candidate, I refused to campaign in any of the local governments. That is by the way. The APC candidate has a document called a simple agenda. He has spoken to them. He has appeared on your program. I've listened to him. I've read it through, and it's a document, an agenda that contains, certain policy framework, certain programs that, if implemented, given the opportunity to be elected as governor, if implemented, would be a clear departure from that of the PDP candidate who didn't come up with an agenda up until about 5 days ago. He came up with one they called MEGA, Make Edo Great Again. If you are saying make Edo great again, it also goes to suggest that in your last 4 years, you haven't made an impact. So if Edo is a work in progress, you should be able to tell us exactly what you have done and what you intend to do. That is by the way. Talking about Okwila people, we have about 33 to 34,000 voters in Okwila. I cannot guarantee you that the entire 34,000 will vote for one person against the other. That will be also abusing their own right of choice and franchise. But we are appealing to a majority of them to see why they have to ensure that Osagie Ize-Yamu is voted into office. And out of that 34,000 voters, captured in 4 wards of the community, I've been able to take the message down to them at the grassroots, door to door, to appeal to them. After I finish this program by weekend, I'll still be going home again to continue the campaign, because we are producing so much for the state. We have cement factory, Bua Cement is in Okwila. We have Dangote Cement that's nearing completion. We have other smaller companies. Okwila ought to be an industrial hub in Edo State, because every month about 42 million naira goes into the state IGR, internally generated revenue, from Okwila. Yet we cannot see commensurate response from government in terms of infrastructure, in terms of even empowerment of our people. So I've made my point clear last week when I met with our people. I told them categorically that this is not about me. It's not about what I want to eat. Like I'm doing well, I'm feeling well, but it's about the community. Our roads are bad. We need roads to be fixed. Our schools are without teachers. We need school teachers. We are tired of recruiting temporary teachers, by paying from our purses to cater for them, or recruiting members of the NYSC to come and teach in schools. While the state government is talking about Edo Best, transforming Edo and all of that, we have teachers in Okpala secondary schools that are insufficient and inadequate to cater for the responsibilities of the classroom. Okay. So, to that extent, Okpala people in their majority are very much, aware of this. And once we're able to do that sensitization, we'll be able to get majority of the votes for Ize-Yamu.
Okay. 2 questions quickly as we start to bring things down. Number one, you talked about a simple agenda, but Don Pedro Obaseki had come on this show to say that he was plagiarized on that agenda, that he had it first, that simple agenda. And secondly, what would Ize-Yamu bring to the Edo people that has never been done in Edo State before? 2 questions quickly.
Okay. The issue of plagiarism is very strange. You know your document has been plagiarized. Go to court. Go and seek redress. But I am aware that the same Don Pedro Obaseki spoke on Bentiv television in London, saying that that document belongs to Osaje Ize-Yamu. It's on tape to have said that, wholly. So I don't want to dwell on that. On the issue of what is being done that is not that what Ize-Yamu has never been done that is not being done. Yeah. There are so many things. First and foremost, he will help the United States. Because the state as presently constituted is being factionalized into different cleavages of persons and factors that, that are the political players in the politics of Edo State. We need a unifying force. We need a rallying point. We need a man of peace, not a man who is combative, who is quarrelsome, who picks holes in everything and all of that. We want a man, a governor who will promote the Edo interest, not one who will ridicule individuals in the state and also go after their economic interests. Captain Osa is being hounded for nothing by the governor because he felt he had a governorship election ambition. Captain Osa has spoken out. Dr. Odupayos Odubu was appointed as chairman of NDDC. Before he said Jack Robinson, the governor had to team up with others to say that no, it cannot be. It is not the turn of Edo. Victor Ekato was also appointed commissioner for NDDC representing Edo State. All of them were quashed. Adam Soshomole, the state governor, used a lot of state funds to sponsor a lot of things against Adam Soshomole. And today, Adam Soshomole is out of the equation. So if we do not have individuals and persons even representing us at the national level, and you have a governor who promotes all of this and wants to be seen alone as the only voice from Edo State, you can't drive that narrative far. So first and foremost, we need unity, we need peace, we need stability. Edo State has been in the news for the wrong reasons in the last 3 years, and that should not be a narrative that is coming out from a state as Edo that is so blessed with natural and human resources. There is rubber, there is agriculture, land for agriculture, there is a limestone deposit in huge quantity in Okpala, and so many other things that can be harnessed to place the state on the pedestal of growth and development. But what we see is look at the assembly, state assembly. 14 lawmakers for 1 year plus not being proclaimed or not being inaugurated to the House to be part and parcel of the House to also carry out their lawmaking process duties. Wow. For 1.5 years now, the minority rule has been the order of the day in Edo State. That is not the kind of narrative we want to see.
Thank you very much, KASSIM AFEGBUA. So much to still talk about the situation in the Edo State House of Assembly, and then your comment saying that Adam Soshomole is out of the question. Not many people, out of the equation you said, not many people will agree with you on that score. I think it's still very much part of the equation.